Good afternoon. I'm very sorry that I can't be with you today. I'm filming 2 episodes of my television show on Arab television on Al Mayadeen called Kalima Hurra, one on the Kushner deal of the century, for the Palestinian people, and one on the revolution and counter-revolution in Sudan. So look out for those 2 shows. There's, of course, subtitling and translation. You might find them interesting. I would very much have liked to be with you today because this is right up my street. I have been, I think, ahead of the curve on finding our way into a free media. I now have 322,000 followers as of this morning on Twitter, 610,000 followers on Facebook, then Instagram and Snapchat and YouTube and so on. So over 1 million people are in my audience daily, in fact hourly, maybe even more than hourly. I've also managed to break into radio and into television on our TV show Sputnik on RT, and until very recently on talk radio with the mother of all talk shows, a 3-hour extravaganza, an open university of the airwaves. Inevitably, of course, that has come to an end, but next Sunday, the 23rd of June at 7 p.m. British time, the mother of all talk shows, Unleashed, is launched on Sputnik Radio, on FM in Washington, D.C., on AM across the United States, online across the world, and live streamed across YouTube and Facebook and so on. Stand by for all the particulars and details. You too have also been struggling to establish free media in a sea of disinformation, in a sea of propaganda that the enemy is happy to lose money producing because they know the effect of it. I have time only to give 2 examples from this very week. Frankly, if you believe that the Iranian regime bombed, missiled, or mined 2 Japanese ships, one Japanese owned and one bound for Japan, filled with oil for Japan. If you believe the Iranians bombed, attacked these 2 ships, there's probably no saving you. The Japanese Prime Minister was sitting in the presidency of Iran with Donald Trump's disapproval. He'd flown all the way from Japan to Tehran to negotiate, to try and help the Iranians out of a jam. And they chose that moment to attack 2 Japanese boats? Please. And yet, there are many useful idiots, mainly working in the mainstream media, because the mainstream media fell hook, line and sinker for the most brazenly obvious false flag operation in recent history. And there have been many, many such examples. You'll remember the story about Colonel Gaddafi handing out Viagra to his Libyan soldiers so they could go on a rape spree. That was a choice one. It was a total lie, as all these propaganda stories leading up to these wars and invasions are total lies. Now on social media, this latest Pompeo, Netanyahu, Bolton propaganda wheeze failed epically. But in the mainstream media, and it is still the mainstream media, it was hook, line and sinker. It was wall to wall. So we still have a long way to go. And too many of us think because we see people agreeing with us all over social media, I'm guilty of this myself, of imagining that that is the popular view outside, and it isn't. Second is, in connection with the same story. Just like on the Skripal affair, when Jeremy Corbyn rose in Parliament to say, can we have some evidence here? Can we just pause before this rush to judgment? That's what he did on the Persian Gulf affair. That's all he said. All he said was, look, let's look a bit further into this, please. And down on his head, the entire mainstream media has come. My son is photobombing me, please forgive me. The idea that the leader of the opposition doesn't have a duty to say to the government, are you sure, after all the disasters of the last 20 years, are you sure you want to do this again? That's the very least of the duties of the leader of Her Majesty's opposition. That's all Corbyn did, the very least. And look what has happened in today's media, the BBC. Such is the war culture in the mainstream media. Anyone even asking a question about a rush to war is immediately descended upon by the mob of media violence, mainstream media violence. And the long and the short of it is this: all of us have a duty to support alternative media, to buy it, to sponsor it, to spread it, to proselytize for it. And we need to get behind successful examples of the breakout from the mainstream media, the breakout alternative media. I would have liked at far greater length to have dilated on this subject with you today, but I'm afraid that duty calls. I wish you all the best for your conference. I hope it goes well, and I hope it leads to many other such meetings across the country, and I'll do my best to attend them. Thank you very much indeed.